Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I call this House to order. To present their case on today's motion, this House will introduce a common currency for all Asian countries. I call upon the Prime Minister, Muhammad Afiq bin Zairul Azwan, to open the case for the government. The floor is yours.
Test. Panel, in the 1900s when the Iron Curtain fell, it not only marked the unification of East and West Germany, that perhaps it was an allegory to the destruction of barriers that existed between nations that restricted them from gaining economic prosperity in Europe. Today, what we're supporting under side government is doing the same thing, but in Asia. But before that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning towards panel of educators, timekeepers, speakers, colleagues, oppositions, people of the floor. Two things I will do in today's speech. First, I'll give you a complete case setup and I give my argumentation on how it's economically beneficial. My deputy will refute miscluded points coming from their side and give his own positive substantive. My whip will deconstruct the anatomy of their case and tell you why we win in today's debate. First, definition. So it's in all of its features, common currency refers to the same legal tender and denominations across participating countries. Second definition, Asian countries, is all countries within the Asian boundaries. That's to say, the debate isn't about whether or not Russia or Turkey is part of the Asian bloc. We say people who consider themselves as Asian countries are able to join this bloc.
Sir?
So status quo. No, thank you. How does status quo look like under two key respects? Firstly, we say that Asian countries collectively are powerful economically as a bloc. So it looks like the 57 trillion GDP, which constitutes 73% of the global economical output. That is, the 4.4 billion people within this region represents it encompasses the 60% population of the globe. I.e., there exists economic powerhouse, i.e. that of China and that of India. So secondly, this in status quo, despite it being the biggest bloc, they still trade independently. So the biggest trading partner for China is the US. So that's India's trading partner consists of the US, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and also the Swiss. Thirdly, I'm going to move on to my mechanism. So we're going to base our model on the Eurozone. 7 things to say for this. First, we established a central bank called the ACB, that is the Asian Central Bank, and we're going to call our currency the dong. Because, don't mistake this with the Vietnamese dong, we say that the word dong itself is a good illustration on what our money is, and we think it's kind of cool to call it that way, right? So second mechanism is members of Asian Bank consists of the president and finance minister of participating countries. So whatever the value of the money at that moment of time shouldn't be debated. It will be decided by those panel of ministers. Third mechanism is that the role of the central bank is to control the currency to controlling inflation. Fourthly, the bank doesn't control fiscal policies. That's to say, given that the bank only dictates monetary policies, so things such as tax rates and government spending isn't included in that. Fifth, it's completely voluntary, so that the process we can see is gradual and long. So countries who want to opt in can opt in. Sixth mechanism, the strict requirement to be a member. So it's the price stability, it's the exchange rate stability, it's the sustainability of public finance. So countries that don't meet requirements cannot opt into such bloc. Lastly, we allow the possibility for a member to be removed. So this debate isn't about creating a utopia. We say it's an economic debate. So it's about comparatives. So we can see that there will be hiccups throughout the process of creating and throughout the bloc itself, but we say it doesn't undermine the benefits that we can accrue out of them. First argument, why it's economically ideal for all Asian countries to have a common currency. So the context that we need to understand today is that Asian countries do a lot of trading with non-Asian countries, despite number one, there being demand, and number two, the cost of shipping and exporting is much more cheaper. Why is this? 3 reasons. The first, so the currency is more stable, i.e. that of the US. So China likes to trade with the US because the prices doesn't fluctuate. Hence, profit is maintained. Secondly, there's bigger demand, and lastly, it's it's political ties, right? Before that, wait.
Given the political instability and conflicts that some countries face, do countries have natural incentive to want to collaborate in the first place?
Okay, that's why people will opt in to the bloc. I'll move to that in my second part of my speech. So because of these three things, money leaks out of those certain regions, and that is something bad. So what does having a common currency constitute? It increases the trade of these Asian countries. Why? The first, you establish a stable currency, and given trading increase the value of the currency, we say that is something good. Secondly, there's a consolidation of demand. So in status quo, without a common currency, countries create their own demand. So therefore, exporters has to trade with another country, each and single country independently, where in many instances they don't. When there exists a single currency, there's a singular demand. That's so where the demand is in Asian bloc is collectively bigger compared to the demand by other countries. So why does trading in a single region equate a better economy for the region? That's to say, why do people actually want to opt into the region? This is directly engaging with his pure eye. So you strengthen the value of the currency overall. So trading costs decrease because shipping is cheaper because of geographical proximity. Hence, production costs decrease, which results in an increase of profit margin. So companies can make more money, they can increase the salary of the workers, which gives workers more an increase of purchasing power. So there's more demand, there's more production, hence more job opportunities. It's economic 101. So the alternative is that when production costs decrease, the selling cost also decreases. But before that, any points of information?
Sir,
Yeah.
if you make this policy voluntarily, then how are you going to make sure that the countries actually have an incentive to join this union?
That was literally my analysis just now, right? Listen to what I'm saying. So products become cheaper under our side, and this appeals to a lot of people. So all in all, it creates more prosperity under our side. So when the currency strengthens, so the value of money increases. You can buy more things. You have more purchasing power. So in a situation where they want to illustrate a world where people don't want to opt into this bloc, we say it's fine. Because the burden that we need to push today is not why people will opt into this bloc, but why the merits of having a common currency is good, right? So we told you a lot of things. So firstly, we told you why trade will increase. Hence, the value and the strengthening of your currency will increase. So they never got that contention to begin with. So on a comparative, we can see that there will be hiccups in our economies, i.e. that of the Eurozone, but that doesn't undermine the kinds of benefits that you could accrue under our side. That is to say, in the Eurozone, you get a lot of economical benefits. So the trade between those countries increase. We got more people, we got more tourists, we get more transparency, right? So those are the kinds of benefits that only are exclusive to under our side. When you have a common currency, this is an economic debate in all facets. We've won them all. With that, I'm very proud to propose.
Thank you, Muhammad Afiq. Now we've heard from the Prime Minister. Okay, let us invite the opposition leader to state the opposition's objections with regard to today's motion. Please welcome Nazmi bin Ahmad Nizar.
We agree that every success must start with a dream. However, a common currency for all Asian countries, that is an impossible dream. Ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that the three gentlemen from Sultan Alam Shah are fighting a losing battle to begin with. But before that, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning I bid to the honorable panel of judges, the precise timekeeper, amazing opponents on side of government, worthy comrades on side of opposition, and not to forget members of this beautiful house. But But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do two things today. Firstly, I'm going to rebut whatever case has been brought up by side Prime Minister. And secondly, I'm going to provide the arguments from side of opposition. But first of all, let's look at the definition provided by side government. Now, he basically stated the literal definition of the keywords in these phrases. But what he failed to do is he failed to characterize the status quo of the important key phrases in today's debate, which is the Asian countries. I'm going to do that today. We have to look at the characterizations of these Asian countries. What do we have to concede and recognize? Number one, we have to concede that different Asian countries have different national interests. For example, we see that China now wants to become the big country in Asia. Secondly, we have to see that there are political differences between Asian countries. This means we have different types of governments, different types of regime, for example, authoritative, autocratic, democratic, and also dictatorship. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, we also have to realize that among the Asian countries, there exists political instability. For example, in Afghanistan, where they have inconclusive peace negotiations with the Taliban, and also in Myanmar, where they have racial genocide. So given that, ladies and gentlemen, that's what they have to realize in today's debate, where we don't think it's conducive for you to create a common currency. But more of that, what's this debate about? We think this debate is about arguing the feasibility of creating a common currency for all Asian countries. Why do we think that's justified? Because for you to accept the motion, for everyone to accept this motion, you need to prove to us why should we introduce and how are we going to introduce this common currency. Secondly, what is this debate about? It's about outweighing the harms and benefits of having a common currency. And that's what we're going to do today. Ladies and gentlemen, secondly, what is the stand on side of opposition? We tell you our stand is clear. Our stand is the difference in economic, social, and political interests of Asian countries hinders economic integration. But I'm curious to know what they have to say so early, so second speaker.
China has a national interest within the Spratly Islands, but they still trade with Japan, someone they're contending Spratly Islands with. What's your logical reasoning as to why trade wouldn't happen?
Sure, they want to trade with Japan, but do they want to form a currency with the whole Asian nations that's what's stated in today's debate. That's what they failed to analyze. Moving on to my next task, I'm going to signpost my team's structure. What will I do today and what will my friends do? Number one, I'm going to provide an argument under the key phrase of common currency impedes economic and political sovereignty. Secondly, my second minister will talk about how their policy does not benefit the majority. So ladies and gentlemen, moving on to my rebuttals to what I have to the Prime Minister. Now what he said in his speech is basically simple. You can sum up whatever he said into the benefits of having a common currency. Now he basically stated the mere obvious things once you have a common currency, which you can already see happening in the euro. But what he failed to do is he failed to prove to us how will that come to happen. I have a few rebuttals. Number one, I question him on how, if you make it voluntary, are you going to actually incentivize all these countries to join that union? But he didn't respond. He merely dismissed. Now, why won't these countries actually, Asian countries, want to join? A few reasons, a few responses. Number one, because of the transition cost that they have to pay. In order for you to change your currency, to change your bank and everything, you need a lot of money. But second reason is because in the whole of 48 Asian countries, you have the extreme poor to the highly developed countries. So there's a huge gap of disparity between the Asian countries. So the reason for this is it creates it actually impedes the interest for this country to join the Asian Union. And secondly, ladies and gentlemen, they never clarified to us on whether or not there is a body that will, there is a union like the European Union where they eliminate the borders and allow people to go through other countries. Because we think that's really important if you want to create a new currency. If you don't have an open borders, how are the citizens of the Asian Union going to use that money? So a lot of things have not been explained by Prime Minister. But moving on to my arguments today, ladies and gentlemen, which is common currency, it hinders and impedes economic and political sovereignty. I have three levels of analysis. My first level of analysis on how it hinders your personal and economic growth. Sure, the other side says that trade happens, economic growth happens. But this is not true for big countries that join this union. For example, China, because now they have to lower their interest rates and also conform to the economic situations of other countries and integrate it into one union in order to make that currency. We think this is not suitable for that big country. But before moving on to my second analysis, yes.
It's not true, is it? Because economic blocs have a bigger currency value compared to even the strongest of economies. So naturally, China will want to join these economic blocs because it's just beneficial for them.
Thank you, sir. These blocs have huge currencies because of the big countries that have strong currencies, not more because of the small countries like Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, all that stan countries. So yeah, that's my response. Second level of analysis. My second level of analysis on why economic independence is important. Now we think that without economic independence or sovereignty, you cannot draft your own monetary policies. Now, why is it important that you draft your own monetary policies? It is so that you can avoid financial crisis. Because when you have your own monetary policies, you can quickly draft or you can quickly decide your interest rates to actually suit it or appropriate it to your country's economical system. You can also control inflation because now you have a body which, when you are not in a union, you can control your own fiscal deficit. And at the other side, they told us specifically that there is nobody that controls the fiscal policies of a country. We think that's harmful. We think that will affect the entirety of the countries that are using the same union. But my third level of analysis on how if they create an Asian union where you can move freely, that wouldn't work. Because number one, that would require all Asian countries to open up borders. We think that's impossible. All the Asian countries would not want to open up their borders. Maybe some do, but some wouldn't. But secondly, how are you going to deal with constrictions such as language and cultural differences? Yeah, you can deal it in the European Union because they typically have the same kind of language, more economic interests and similar culture and language. But that's impossible for 48 Asian countries where you have a diverse amount of people and culture. So all in all, ladies and gentlemen, I have disproven on how their side can actually create a sustainable currency which is used by the entirety of Asian unions. Before I take a seat, I have one thing to say. Let's be realistic, not idealistic. Thank you.